My time ran out. The Centers for Patient Safety, they go in with these, they've evaluated the 12 critical areas of EMS, and those are information exchange, overall perceptions of patient safety, teamwork, response to mistakes, staff training, organizational learning, handoffs, leadership, support for patient safety, communication, staffing, work pressure, pace, feedback and communication about incidences, and communication during a response. So I had printed off some of these hospital surveys that I was able to get my hands on these surveys, and I was gonna pass them out, kind of let y'all see, or let you see how they are. But again, a lot of this is, how much do you agree or disagree? Well, my supervisor, manager, and clinical leader seriously consider staff suggestions for improving patient safety. My supervisor manager wants us to work faster during busy times, even if it means taking shortcuts. Take action to address patient safety concerns that are brought to their attention. Like, you're grading your leadership and your supervisors on these things, so they have to be kept confidential. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it's a long survey. It's several pages long, but it's pretty in depth about safety things in the workplace. It's pretty in depth about the morale and about attitudes, and a lot has to do with leadership. Okay. All right, so this is where I was like, okay, there's got to be two different branches of safety culture. One is patient safety culture, and one is provider safety culture. Patient safety culture is the extent to which an organization's culture supports and promotes patient safety. Patient safety culture refers to the beliefs, values, and norms that are shared by healthcare practitioners and other staff throughout the organization that influence their actions and behavior. So again, it was a lot like the definition of actual culture. The patient safety can be measured by determining what's rewarded, supported, expected, and accepted in an organization as it relates to patient safety. So there's kind of a clue that this should be more of a positive thing, and that people aren't like getting fired on the spot for making mistakes or for accidents or whatever. I saw that most healthcare organizations have safety standards, regulations, and accreditations to maintain, as most are linked to reimbursement. Like I said, the hospitals have the Joint Commission. They have other other organizations that are they're collaborating with for reimbursement for improvements. So the whole thing that kind of kicked this off, I think, was back in like 1999. There was a research article posted that was called "To Err is Human." One of these quotes was, "The majority of medical errors do not result from individual recklessness or the actions of a particular group. This is not a bad apple problem. It's more commonly errors are caused by faulty systems, processes, and conditions that lead people to make mistakes or fail to prevent them." So there's been a lot of things. Just off the top of my head, I had jotted down, like, in the hospital, you have the Pyxis system that was supposed to help with medication errors. But of course, we've heard of the nurse that put in, I think she was trying to get Versed, but she got VEC because she put in VE, and she didn't check with anybody, or she didn't check it herself. But that's one of the things about complacency that, our deputy director, Josh, talks on all the time. We hear about it all the time from him about not becoming complacent. So, we all complain about switching stations or partners every 3 to 6 months, but really that is a tactic used to not become complacent. We, at the hospital and in EMS, we are now implementing more so in EMS the witness and confirm your meds and dose. That is kind of hard in EMS to do because usually it's, an ALS provider in the back and a driver up front. So it's kind of hard, but just the fact of taking time to, your basic partner may not know, they may have no clue about that medicine, but just the fact that you are taking that time to stop and say, okay, check me on this. This is Zofran. Oh wait, no, it's not. No, oh crap. And you're checking yourself, but your accountability is your partner. Other things that they put in place to help with patient safety culture is teamwork training, executive walk-arounds. Those are kind of like the joint commission stuff, like when they're in-house. But also, your supervisors being present, them, your leadership, them not being stuck in meetings all day trying to make decisions on how the front line is supposed to work, but they have no idea how the front line works because they haven't been on the floor in 5 years. So they're implementing more of that, not so much as they're standing over your shoulder and watching what you're doing, but just to get them back in that clinical setting so that they can relate with some of the policies that they're trying to implement. Also, one of the other things noted was the rapid response teams in the hospital. I remember that coming into place. That's been in the last, 10, 15 years that they've been doing that. But in EMS, just simple things like spotters when backing. We think of medication errors and stuff like that, but really, like, we're driving a lethal weapon. So, not only do we have that in EMS, do we have that patient aspect and safety concern, but we also have the driving safety, just logistics and in general that we have to be very careful about. And those things can be costly again too, just in an insurance aspect or, mechanical expenses, stuff like that. It all adds up, and we can save a lot of money. Even if we're not getting reimbursed in EMS, we can save money just by being safe. And now we're performing timeouts, with our narcolegs. We're trying not to make as many errors there, but just the timeouts with med administration and stuff like that. So yeah, provider safety culture. So this was the second branch that I kind of researched that was interesting to me. If the provider's not safe, the patient's not safe. So there's another backup to patient safety. EMS personnel, we all know, we're expected to do work under difficult, unpredictable, rapidly changing circumstances, and that just is what it is. We may work longer hours. We see harsh environments. We have limited information. We have limited assistance, especially now during COVID, especially now. And we don't always have that supervision like other healthcare systems do. We have a lot of autonomy out here. So just some statistics that I saw, EMT and paramedic mortality rates are 3 times the average worker. Non-fatal occupational injuries, lifting, slips, trips, and falls are 6 times that of the national rate for workers and almost 2 times that of the fire service. And the prevalence of violence against EMS providers is 22 times the national average. And then another thing that I didn't even mention in there, but it was I think they're calling it the second patient death or something, but pretty much suicide. We know that the prevalence of suicide is just increasing with first responders, and there's programs implemented for that, and that goes right along with provider safety as well, just our mental health. And so I can really see that they're trying to increase that awareness and be proactive about it and try to prevent these things. So after you talk about those 2 branches, then it's just culture, which is kind of 2 things in one. It's just culture, whether it's patient or provider, either way, we need both to be able to work. But also the just culture, like handling things justly. This is a concept of an open communication of errors and non-punitive environment. Of 670 respondents, 60% indicated that they felt that the person was being written up in instances of violation rather than the problem. I've said this to myself before. There's been times where I'm like, crap, I did that or I didn't do that. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to get written up. But I'm sitting here telling myself, like, I feel so bad about it. And, I've already kind of punished myself. Why not we just talk about this, talk about things that I could have changed, instead of writing me up for something that I obviously didn't mean to do. I obviously know that it was wrong now. Times like that. And, little side note, I wasn't written up. I haven't been written up, but that's just another way that I can see that Johnston County is working towards this type of culture. 53% indicated upper management seemed interested in patient safety only after an adverse incident happened. 67% felt staff members were treated fairly when they made a mistake. Only 45% expressed their ability to openly talk about problems in their service. So, we can't fix it if we don't talk about it. I wanted to show this video because I think it covers a lot of what this safety culture is supposed to be about. I think it also talks about how you don't place blame immediately on the employee, that there are other reasons for risk and harm to patient, that it's not just, you don't just take that dramatic approach of, oh, it's her fault, she misread something, but there are other factors that go into this patient safety culture, and that it can be a breakdown in equipment and stuff like that. So it covers the whole concept of this safety culture.